Silence. It is often regarded as the absence of words, the quiet between moments. But in the realm of power, silence is an art, a weapon, a tool of the highest magnitude. If you wish to master the intricate dance of manipulation, if you desire to hold dominion over others, silence will serve as the most potent ally you can ever possess. It is a shield that protects your intentions, a veil that hides your strategy, and a force that disrupts your enemy's mind like no other. In the noise of everyday life, in the chaos of endless chatter, silence reigns supreme. It is in the spaces where no words are spoken that power begins to reveal itself. Power does not always thrive in the loudness of confrontation. Rather, it flourishes in the hushed moments, in the gaps between decisions, where uncertainty lingers and doubts grow. The one who controls silence controls the battlefield. You see, when you speak, you expose your intentions, your thoughts, your desires, and in that moment of exposure, you become vulnerable. Every word you utter can be twisted, every idea dissected, every plan unmasked. But when you are silent, you are impenetrable. There is no vulnerability in silence, only strength. When you refuse to speak, you deny others the chance to read you, to predict your next move, and to plan against you. The greatest rulers throughout history have understood the value of silence. They knew that silence could disarm their enemies, throw them off balance, and make them second-guess their every move. When a ruler holds their tongue, their power becomes undeniable. The absence of speech becomes the most commanding presence in the room. There is another level to this. Silence, when used strategically, can create an atmosphere of tension and suspense. It forces the minds of others to fill in the gaps. They wonder, they speculate, they fear. It is this fear that grants power to the silent. When others are left in the dark, they will start to imagine the worst, and in that imagined fear, they will make mistakes. They will act impulsively, recklessly, and in doing so, they will lose control. When you choose silence, you also choose to observe. The words of others, when they are left unchecked, become the key to understanding their motives. Their words betray them. They reveal their intentions, their weaknesses, their insecurities. The silent observer sees all. While others speak of their plans, their ambitions, and their fears, the silent one listens and learns. In silence, you gather intelligence. You decipher the hidden meanings behind actions and words. In moments of conflict, silence is often misinterpreted as weakness. But it is a mistake to assume that the silent are cowards. Silence is not a retreat. It is a calculated stance. By not reacting, you hold the power to decide the terms of the engagement. You control the pace, the rhythm, the direction. The loud will burn themselves out with their own fervor, while you remain composed, calm, and unyielding. You are the eye of the storm, and while others are caught in the tempest of their own making, you remain unshaken. When you engage in power plays, silence is your secret weapon. It confuses your adversaries, leaves them questioning their assumptions, and places them in a perpetual state of doubt. They cannot be sure of your true thoughts or your next move. And in that uncertainty, they will falter. The key is to remain patient. Timing is everything. You wait for the right moment, the perfect opportunity to strike. And when you do, your move will be so precise, so calculated, that your adversary will be left reeling, unsure of how they were defeated. Silence also carries weight in relationships, especially when it comes to manipulation. When you withhold information, when you choose to stay silent on matters of importance, you place yourself in a position of control. Those around you will be left wondering what you know, what you are hiding, and how they can gain your favor. In time, they will be forced to cater to you, to make concessions in order to win your approval. Your silence becomes their obsession, their pursuit. They will constantly be trying to decode you, but they will never succeed. And in this pursuit, they will never stop serving your interests. One of the most powerful aspects of silence is its ability to expose others. When you hold your tongue, others will feel the need to fill the silence, often with words that they may not have intended to reveal. They will speak more than they should, giving away their own secrets, exposing their vulnerabilities. The more they talk, the more they reveal about themselves, and the more you understand how to manipulate them. The silent one is never caught off guard because they are always in control of the conversation, always dictating the flow of information. The less you speak, the more you gain. Silence also has an uncanny ability to create mystery. People are drawn to what they do not understand. They are intrigued by what remains unsaid, by what lies hidden beneath the surface. And in their fascination, they will seek to understand you, to uncover your motivations, your desires. But the more they probe, the more elusive you become. The more they search for answers, the more you retreat into the shadows of your silence. This mystery, this enigma that you become, feeds into your power. Silence, when used correctly, can also be a tool of humiliation. When someone expects a response, when they seek your approval or your attention, and they receive nothing, they are left in a state of discomfort, of confusion. It forces them to question their own worth. They begin to wonder if they have said or done something wrong, and in their desperation to gain your approval, they will bend to your will. Silence is the most profound form of control. It is the silent master who governs the world, not with loud proclamations and grand gestures, but with the quiet confidence that others cannot challenge. It is the power to be above the fray, untouched by the petty concerns of those around you. It is the wisdom of knowing when to speak and, more importantly, when to remain quiet. It is knowing that in silence you hold everything. You hold the keys to the kingdom, the power to manipulate, the ability to dictate the future. When you choose silence, you choose to stand above the noise, the chaos, and the distractions of the world. You choose to be the master of your own destiny, untouched by the trivialities of the masses. In silence, you find your true power. It is the coldest law of power, the law that will make you untouchable, unbreakable, and unstoppable. And once you have mastered it, no one can ever challenge your rule. Silence, when mastered, becomes an invisible force that commands the room without ever uttering a single word. It is the weapon of choice for those who understand the deepest laws of power. The one who holds their tongue is never caught off guard, for silence allows them to remain unpredictable, elusive, and untouchable. In silence, you create a void that others must struggle to fill, and in that struggle, they expose their weaknesses, their desires, and their fears. You are the one who is free from the chaos, from the emotional storms that ravage the rest of the world. This power goes beyond the mere absence of sound. It is not simply about not speaking. It is about wielding your silence as a weapon that disorients, destabilizes, and manipulates. Silence throws others into uncertainty, and in that uncertainty, they lose their balance. They question themselves. They question their own actions, and this self-doubt makes them pliable. They become easier to control because they are too consumed with trying to understand you, to decipher the silent enigma that you have become. When you remain silent, you force others to fill in the blanks with their own assumptions, and most often, these assumptions are filled with fear. People are not comfortable with uncertainty. It leaves them exposed, vulnerable. Silence creates an emotional pressure that others cannot handle. They crave to know what you are thinking, what your next move will be, and when you withhold this knowledge, you hold power over them. Your silence becomes an invisible chain that ties them to you, keeps them guessing, keeps them desperate to find the answers that you are not given. This is not to say that silence is easy to master. It requires a level of discipline, self-control, and emotional intelligence that few can achieve. The silent person must be able to withstand the temptation to react, to speak, to reveal themselves. They must learn to remain composed, unaffected by the chaos and noise that surrounds them. This is not weakness. It is strength in its purest form. By remaining silent, you are constantly assessing the situation, always watching, always understanding. You have the time to weigh your options, to calculate your next move, while others rush forward, making mistakes, acting impulsively. Silence also allows you to control the narrative. While others are speaking, making decisions, revealing their thoughts and intentions, you remain the passive observer, gathering information, analyzing, and planning your strategy. The more you observe, the more you learn about those around you. You see their vulnerabilities, their ambitions, their weaknesses. The more they speak, the more they reveal. And it is in the quiet, the space between their words, that you find your advantage. They do not know what you know, and this ignorance will be their undoing. People will try to break your silence. They will ask you questions, challenge your opinions, demand your attention. But if you understand the power of silence, you will know that these attempts are nothing more than desperate pleas for validation. When you remain silent, they are forced to fill the void, to expose themselves even further. The more they ask, the more they reveal, and the more you remain silent, the more they come under your control. Silence is also a weapon of humiliation. There is nothing more frustrating than being ignored, nothing more crushing than being met with indifference when you expect a reaction. When someone is ignored, they are left questioning their own value. Silence forces them to chase after something they cannot have: your attention, your words, your approval, and in their desperation, they become weaker. They will make mistakes in their pursuit of your validation, and it is in these mistakes that you will find your victory. But silence also allows you to remain unpredictable. When others cannot predict your behavior, they cannot plan against you. The key to maintaining dominance in any situation is to remain one step ahead. Silence gives you the time you need to think, to plan, to observe. It gives you the advantage of surprise. The more you control the timing of your words, the more power you hold. The silent one has the luxury of choosing when and how to speak, and this control over timing is a form of dominance in itself. Silence can also be used to create a false sense of security in your opponents. They may believe that they understand you, that they have you figured out, but in reality, you are using your silence to mislead them. You give them just enough information to make them believe they know your next move, and when they act on that belief, they are blindsided. By remaining silent, you become an enigma, a puzzle that cannot be solved. And this unpredictability allows you to outmaneuver those who think they have the upper hand. In moments of tension, when the world around you is filled with noise and chaos, silence allows you to rise above. It is in the quiet that you can hear the whispers of opportunity, the faintest sound of movement that others miss in their haste. The silent one has the advantage of seeing what others cannot, hearing what others do not. While others rush to react, to speak, to defend, you remain calm, poised, and aware. This awareness, this stillness, grants you a power that no amount of words or actions can ever replicate. Silence is the ultimate form of mental warfare. When others try to provoke you, when they seek to challenge your authority or undermine your control, silence becomes your greatest defense. You do not need to react to their insults, their provocations, their threats. By remaining silent, you force them to confront themselves. Their words fall on deaf ears, and in that silence, they realize that their attempts have failed. The true master of power knows when to speak, but more importantly, they know when not to. They know that every word spoken is a potential risk, a potential loss of control. And so, they remain silent. In that silence, they gain strength. In that silence, they become untouchable. And when the time comes to speak, when the time comes to act, their words and actions carry the weight of their accumulated power. The world will listen, because the silent one speaks only when it truly matters. And when they speak, their words will carry more weight than any others ever could. Silence, then, is the ultimate weapon for those who seek power. It is the coldest, most calculating law of power. And once you have learned to wield it, once you have mastered the art of silence, no one will ever be able to challenge you. You will become a force so subtle, so elusive, and so powerful that nothing and no one can stand in your way. Silence is the stillness before the storm, the calm before the victory. It is an absence that causes unease, a gap that others cannot fill, no matter how hard they try. The more you embrace it, the more it shapes your power. Silence is the force that grants you dominion over the noise and chaos that others are lost in. It strips away distractions, leaving only the essentials of control and strategy. While the world rushes to speak, to argue, to engage in petty squabbles, you remain in a position of strength, observing, assessing, and calculating. The ability to silence your emotions, to control your impulses, is one of the greatest weapons in your arsenal. In a world that thrives on instant reactions, emotional outbursts, and knee-jerk responses, being silent makes you untouchable. When others are reacting to the heat of the moment, they expose themselves, revealing their weaknesses, their desires, and their vulnerabilities. But you, the silent one, remain untouched by the frenzy. You observe, you listen, and in the end, you control the narrative. What others fail to understand is that silence does not mean passivity. Silence is not a retreat. It is a strategy. It is a deliberate choice to withhold, to step back, to let others play their hand first. This gives you the advantage of knowing your opponent's next move before they even realize it. Silence gives you the power to assess every situation with precision, to see all angles, and to act only when you are certain. Those who speak too quickly, too loudly, do so out of fear. They want to control the conversation, to assert themselves before others have a chance to react. But you, in your silence, remain the one with the advantage, the one who controls the timing of your words and actions. The silent one is never rushed, never pressured by the demands of others. They are always in control of the pace, the rhythm. While the world operates in a rush, driven by urgency and haste, the silent one moves deliberately, with purpose. They understand that power is not about speed. It is about precision, timing, and patience. And when the time comes to speak, to act, their words and actions are calculated, deliberate, and undeniable. The world listens, because they know that the silent one does not waste words. Every move is deliberate, and every word carries weight. Silence is not simply about withholding information. It is about withholding emotion. It is about controlling your reactions, controlling your face, your body language. When others can't read you, they become paranoid. They become uncertain. Silence creates an atmosphere where others are constantly questioning themselves. What are you thinking? What do you want? What is your next move? In this uncertainty, they become vulnerable. They begin to make mistakes, to overanalyze, to act on their fears instead of their logic. And you, the silent one, wait for them to fall into their own trap. The more you practice silence, the stronger you become. Silence allows you to cultivate an inner strength, an unshakable confidence that radiates without you saying a word. People will be drawn to your stillness, to your ability to remain calm in situations where others lose their composure. In a world of noise and chaos, silence becomes a rare commodity. something that others will seek to understand, but they will never truly understand it. They will never be able to decipher the silent one, because silence, in its deepest form, is an enigma. There is power in what is left unsaid. The unspoken words, the thoughts that remain hidden beneath the surface, create an aura of mystery. People are drawn to what they cannot understand. They will look for clues, for hints, for any sign of weakness that will reveal the silent one's true intentions. But the more they search, the more they reveal about themselves. They are the ones who will expose their vulnerabilities, their desires, their secrets, while the silent one remains unyielding, unbothered, and untouchable. And then, when you finally decide to speak, when you choose to break the silence, the effect is profound. Your words are weighted with meaning, because you have not wasted them. Every word, every sentence, is measured, deliberate, and impactful. Your speech carries the authority of someone who has been silent long enough to understand the power of their own words. You do not speak to be heard. You speak to be understood, to command attention, and to make an impact. The silence before your words has built the anticipation, and when you speak, your voice is the only thing that matters. Silence also allows you to control the emotional energy around you. While others are caught in the whirlwind of their own emotions, reacting to every little stimulus, the silent one remains calm, centered, and focused. This inner calm radiates outward, influencing those around you. It is not something that can be forced or faked. It is a result of mastering your own thoughts, your own emotions. People will feel this energy without understanding it, and they will be drawn to it, seeking the stability and power that comes with it. They will turn to you for guidance, for clarity, because they can sense that you are the one who holds the key to their uncertainty. Silence forces people to respect you, even if they don't understand why. In a world where everyone is constantly talking, constantly trying to assert their opinions, silence becomes a rare and valuable commodity. People respect the one who does not need to speak to make an impact. They respect the one who can hold their own in any situation, who can remain calm and composed when the rest of the world is falling apart. The silent one commands respect, not through words, but through presence. To wield the power of silence is to wield the power of control. You are the one who decides when to speak, when to act, when to reveal yourself. You are not bound by the expectations of others. The more you practice silence, the more you can shape your own destiny. You dictate the terms of engagement, and those around you will have no choice but to follow your lead. The silent one is always in control, always a step ahead, always untouchable. And in the end, it is not just the silence itself that holds power, but the control over it. It is about knowing when to speak, when to withhold, and when to act. The master of silence is never desperate, never driven by fear or emotion. They are in control, and that control becomes their greatest asset. Silence, when wielded correctly, will make you an unstoppable force, a master of your own destiny, and a ruler of your own world. The coldest law of power, the most effective and untouchable, is silence. It is the art of reigning without revealing, the power of acting without speaking, the authority of being untouchable. Once you learn to master it, you will rise above all others, and no one will ever be able to challenge your dominion. The silent ones are always the ones who win the game,